A new book is shedding light on the moment when then-Senator Kamala Harris attacked Joe Biden for his record on busing during the Democratic debates.
I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well,
I
there
did
was
not
a failure of states to integrate
No,
public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision. So
that's where the federal government must step in.
According to the book, Biden leaned over to Pete Buttigieg at the podium to his right. They barely knew each other, but Biden was looking for someone to share the moment with. Well, he said, that was some effing BS. And Jill Biden, the future First Lady, following suit by telling a group of supporters a week later, quote, with what he cares about, what he fights for, what he's committed to, you get up there and call him a racist without basis? Go F yourself. Joining us now, Edward Isaac Dovere, who is a staff writer for The Atlantic and the author of this book. It's new and it's titled Battle for the Soul Inside the Democrats' Campaigns to Defeat Trump. That is coming out next Tuesday. I mean, not surprisingly here, Isaac, Jill Biden took this personally.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Brianna. This was obviously probably the biggest moment of the primary campaign. It was something that Jill Biden and Joe Biden took very personally. They were very angry about it, and that comes across obviously in the language that I report them having in the book. But it was throughout, and it lasted for a long time. It lasted through when they were deciding what the running mate process was going to look like. It left a mark, and they have gotten over it since. Obviously, they've been elected. They're serving together and working together well. But at that moment, it was incredibly, incredibly rough.
This book has a ton of headlines in it. And, you know, yes, what you just reported there, I think maybe the splashiest because of all the potty mouths involved there. But to me, some of the most deeply interesting stuff that I hadn't read before was about former President Obama. Lots of new stuff there, including how he went from trying to project cool about Trump's election to kind of disbelief pretty quickly, Isaac.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're interested in curses, there are a lot of people cursing in the book in lots of ways. There are a lot of passionate moments during the Trump years among Democrats, but including from President Obama himself. What I think you see in the way that President Obama reacted to President Trump's election and then his presidency is a process that was going on for Democrats overall, of at first thinking, okay, well, maybe this will be okay, we won't have so much to object to very quickly changing and getting more and more worried about it. You see, for example, in the book, there's a quote from Ben Rhodes, one of Obama's closest advisors, who says that Trump's election made Obama feel like there was more racism in the country than he had actually realized, and that he had to deal with it more. Rhodes said to me that Obama had been like Jackie Robinson, knowing that people were heckling him, but ignoring it. And he then, once he saw what Trump was like, even during the transition, had gotten much darker about it and was no longer able to ignore it in that same way.
It's almost like it's like a moment of personal crisis. I think that's part of what makes it so interesting in the wake of Trump's election. One of the things that you report in this book is that President Obama initially wanted retired Admiral Bill McRaven to run for the presidency. Is that right? Well,
like Democrats were from very early out in the Trump presidency thinking, who's going to run in 2020? Who's going to run against him? And there's a moment where Obama is with a couple of aides on a small plane, private plane, and it's in December of 2017. And they're sort of playing a game, like a lot of people were. Okay, who do you think it could be? And Obama says, okay, who do you want it to be in your head? Who do you want it to be in your heart? And who do you think could win? And his choice for his head is Bill McRaven, the commander of the Navy SEAL raid that killed bin Laden. His choices in his heart is Joe Biden, and then says who can win. he doesn't know. Obviously, McRaven didn't run, but there were a lot of people who were thinking maybe he would be an interesting candidate. He, for health reasons, pulled back from even some of the work that he was doing. But Biden was always in Obama's heart and somebody that he loved, but he was skeptical throughout how Biden would do as a candidate.
Look, I was genuinely surprised in your reporting. It's always great when you can read these books and be surprised by things you just didn't know. I did not know how politically active Barack Obama was behind the scenes during the Trump presidency and how many different things he was sort of involved in. So you write that after Trump fired Jeff Sessions as Attorney General, Obama reached out to George W. Bush about putting out a statement in support of the Mueller investigation, or at least their teams talked to me. What exactly went on here?
Well, you have to remember that moment, right? It's right after the Democrats do really well in the midterms in 2018, and then Trump fires Jeff Sessions. There is a panic. How far is this going to go? Is this going to be another Saturday night massacre? And already Obama and his team had been concerned about the path that this might take. And they thought, do we have to protect Mueller? And an idea started to be talked about among some of Obama's advisors to maybe say, okay, get a letter together, or a statement together with George Bush, say, here's a Republican president, here's a Democratic president. We both had hired this guy to be FBI director. Obama had extended his term. He started under Bush, had been hired under Bush. And to put a statement like that together, it never got to the level of Obama calling Bush actually for it, but there was some testing of the waters among the Obama folks with Bush folks to see if they'd be interested. There was not interest. Bush has been very clear that he doesn't want to be involved in politics or anything else, and that was the sense that he gave them then.
You also report, and of course, look, a lot of Democrats attribute Biden's primary win in South Carolina to the fact that he was endorsed by Congressman Jim Clyburn, right? Such a key endorsement there. But you write that he nearly didn't get it. I want to read part of this. Clyburn was ready, but then came the 4th and 5th place finishes, and word came back to the PAC from one of the people working with Clyburn. He's not going to try to rehab a corpse.
Yeah.
Did he think of endorsing someone else, and how did he come ultimately to his decision?
Well, you have to remember, Joe Biden is the president now. It worked out for him in the end, and so we can forget how bad things were in January and February of 2020 when it was a disastrous finish in the Iowa caucuses. It was worse in the New Hampshire primary. It was so bad in the New Hampshire primary that he left New Hampshire early and went to South Carolina, so he wasn't there on the night when the votes were actually being counted. Jim Clyburn was looking at this. He likes Biden. He's always liked Biden personally. He thought that Biden was the best choice to beat Trump and had the best chance of doing it. But he looked at those results and he thought, I can't, even though I want to endorse him, I can't put my weight behind him if he's not going to be there himself. It was Biden's finish in the Nevada caucuses where he came in second, far back from Bernie Sanders, but still a strong enough finish that convinced Clyburn there's a way back here that made Clyburn come out forcefully for Biden. There was some interest in looking at other options because Clyburn was pretty clear that he did not think that...
Like who?
Well, it's in the book. There was
Read the
some
book,
feeling.
find out.
There was one particular meeting that happened in there, but what you see with Clyburn is a very deliberate move to be important and to have a role here, which he definitely did. You see all the way to Biden's inauguration, George Bush himself said to Clyburn that he was the one who made the difference in getting Biden elected.
And again, there are new things in this book. If people read this book, they will learn stuff they simply did not know. We talked, again, the biggest headlines here maybe about Vice President Kamala Harris. Who was Biden's second choice here? And in the end, I was really struck by this, reading that Obama actually played a little bit of a role here in helping tip the scale towards Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and to go back to what we were talking about with Kamala Harris at the beginning, one of the things that Biden was thinking about very much in picking his running mate was that he wanted to have the relationship with his running mate that he had with Barack Obama. They grew very close. Their families grew close over the years in the administration together, those 8 years. And he wanted to recreate that. The reason why the debate moment mattered is because Biden, he had sort of moved on from it and forgiven Harris for it, but he was worried that that might stand in the way of getting that kind of close relationship that he wanted. And so one of the conversation strands that he was having was with Obama, who was an advisor to him throughout the primaries and then definitely through the general election and in the running mate process. And Obama says to him at one point, you have to remember, we didn't start out all that close. And in fact, if you go back to 2009, this point in the Obama-Biden White House, they were not getting along that well. But it grew over time to a brotherly relationship. So that was Obama's piece of that. But as far as other candidates, Biden was very drawn to Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, and connected with her personally, connected with her politically. They sort of line up in a lot of ways. And he had her, it leaked a little bit at the time that she flew out secretly to meet with him at his beach house in Delaware. She was one of the rare candidates who there was an in-person interview with for the running mate process.
So interesting.